For years, you've probably heard people talk about water stress and water crises. But what if those terms just aren't cutting it anymore? What if, in huge parts of the world, we've blown past the point of no return and have actually entered a state of permanent water bankruptcy?
Okay, let's start in the Konya Plain. It's a huge farming region in Turkey, a place that's supposed to be all about growing wheat and sugar beets. But instead, something really shocking is happening, and it tells a much, much bigger story about our planet's water.
That's how many massive sinkholes have torn open the landscape there. I mean, we're talking about giant craters, hundreds of feet wide, literally swallowing up farmland and equipment. This isn't just a freak accident, it's a terrifying new pattern. Well, the answer is deep underground. You see, after decades of drought made worse by climate change, farmers have had to drill deeper and deeper for water. They're pumping out groundwater way faster than nature can ever hope to replace it. The aquifers, these vast, ancient underground reservoirs, are being drained dry, and the land on top is just collapsing into the empty space. This isn't a natural disaster. It's a direct result of us taking too much. To really get our heads around what's happening, not just in Turkey, but all over the globe, we actually need a new vocabulary. The United Nations is now arguing that the old terms like scarcity or crisis just don't capture the reality anymore. They're proposing a much, much harsher diagnosis. So this is what's so interesting. Look at the distinction here. Water stress? Well, that's like being under financial pressure. It's tough, but you can recover. A crisis? That's more like a sudden shock, say a market crash, that you can eventually bounce back from. But bankruptcy? That's a whole different ballgame. That's when your fundamental capital is just gone. You can't go back to the way things were.
Think about it like this. Our planet has a water budget, right? The income is all the rain and snow that fills up rivers and soaks into the soil. But we also have these long-term savings accounts, that ancient water that's been stored for thousands of years in underground aquifers or frozen solid in glaciers. Well, we're not just spending more than our monthly income anymore. We've completely drained the savings accounts, and in a lot of places, those accounts are now closed permanently.
And look, this isn't just a story about one region in Turkey. Satellite data is now painting a really grim planet-wide picture. This deficit spending on our water has gone completely global. A recent analysis has pinpointed 4 massive continental-sized regions that are drying out at a speed we've never seen before. Notice anything they have in common? Yep, they're all in the northern hemisphere, and that is definitely not a coincidence. So here's the crucial thing to understand. Global warming isn't happening evenly across the planet. This chart shows it perfectly. Because the northern hemisphere has way more landmass and land heats up much faster than oceans, it's actually warming at more than double the rate of the south. And all that extra heat is just turbocharging evaporation, accelerating this massive drying trend.
75%. That's a staggering number. It's the percentage of the world's population that now lives in a country that is officially classified as water insecure. Let's be clear, this isn't some far-off problem for a few desert nations. This is right here, right now, for the vast majority of us. And it's not just about the water we're pumping out of the ground. We're actively destroying the planet's own natural infrastructure for storing it. You know, wetlands act like these giant natural sponges, soaking up floods and then releasing water slowly. By getting rid of them, it's like we're demolishing our own reservoirs at the exact moment we need them the most. Just look at the balances on our planet's long-term water savings accounts. It's a story of rapid decline pretty much everywhere you look. Nearly 70% of the world's major aquifers are shrinking. Half of our large lakes are losing water. And our frozen reservoirs in the mountains, the glaciers, have lost over 30% of their entire mass since 1970. This isn't a temporary dip. This is the principle being drained away for good. Now, this kind of depletion doesn't happen in a neat little bubble. It sets off a whole cascade of interconnected problems. Water bankruptcy isn't a silent issue. Its effects are real, they're widespread, and sometimes they're completely unexpected. This chart tells you exactly where the biggest pressure is coming from. About 70% of all the fresh water we take from the planet goes straight into agriculture. This creates a direct and pretty scary link between water bankruptcy and our global food supply. In fact, more than half of all the world's food is now grown in places where water storage is already falling. And the consequences just ripple out from there. We've got major cities like Jakarta and Mexico City literally sinking as the ground gives way beneath them. And, get this, in a wild twist, we're pumping so much groundwater out that when it eventually ends up in the ocean, it's now a measurable contributor to sea level rise.
We're seeing cities face day zero when the taps run dry, and major rivers like the Colorado just don't even make it to the sea anymore.
So that's the reality of water bankruptcy. We can't rewind the clock. The real question now is, how do we manage this new permanent deficit? How do we possibly move forward from here?
The core idea being proposed is a huge shift in our whole mindset. We have to stop jumping from one emergency to the next. That's crisis management. Instead, we need to adopt a long-term strategy for living within our new, smaller limits. That's bankruptcy management. It's really about being honest and learning to adapt.
And that means making some really tough but honest choices. First, you have to protect what's left, stop any more irreversible damage. Second, we have to rebalance what we expect to get with what the system can actually give. And that means we need to support communities, especially in farming, as they shift to new ways of life and totally transform our most water-hungry industries.
And this, right here, is the most crucial point to take away from all of this. Acknowledging that we're in a state of bankruptcy isn't about admitting defeat. It's actually the opposite. It is the absolute first step we have to take to build a realistic, honest, and truly sustainable future. It's about finally facing the facts so we can start making the right decisions.
So that leaves us with the ultimate challenge, doesn't it? Now that we know, truly know, that we've been living beyond our planet's water budget, the real work begins. It forces us to ask some profound questions about how we grow our food, how we power our cities, and how we share this incredibly precious resource. This isn't just about managing water anymore. It's about fundamentally redesigning our world to fit within the real-world limits of our one and only planet.